Power supplies run at 100% capacity are not going to last you 10 years.
No.
I think that is a very full... Okay, let me back up a second.
Hang on.
Power supplies these days are much better than they used to be. Premium power supplies built with premium components are generally pretty good. The EVGA G3 series is in like the top 1% of power supplies made with really good stuff. I use them. I own them. I trust them. They're really, really nice. They've been reviewed by other people who know more about power supplies than I do, and I trust them as well. Now, internally, power supplies are actually very simple devices. Power supplies take AC power from the wall and turn it into DC power with a much reduced voltage. They either take 110 or 220 volts in alternating current, and they step it down to 3.3, 5 volts, and 12 volts of direct current inside. They're just a transformer. But they have to take a large amount of power and create 3 different voltages to send to your system. Mm-hmm. And they have to produce very clean power.
They do.
Transformers that just have to produce approximately rough power for generators and jackhammers and drills and other just basic motors, they can produce what's called dirty power, which is the wave isn't even and it varies a bit in voltage spikes. Small voltage spikes and small wave variations aren't going to hurt the motor in a jackhammer.
Right.
Think of the vibration of a jackhammer.
Yeah,
Nothing coming in on the power is going to...
Your PC won't like that.
Your PC needs good power. The capacitors and components inside a power supply, the larger the power supply rating, 850,000 watt, etc., there's larger components, larger transformers, larger capacitors. There's more of them. There's more things to handle all that power. In all things in life, your car, your house heating and air conditioning,
yep,
your blender in your kitchen,
your toaster.
Yeah, your toaster. All of these things have a useful life in them that varies based upon how hard they're run. If you were to take your car out, like say you buy yourself a nice new car that has a 300 horsepower V6 engine. If you go buy a Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord that's got say 300. Well, your new Honda Odyssey, for example, what does it have? 270, 280 horsepower?
279 or something?
She's got a V6 280 horsepower engine in her Honda Odyssey. That Honda Odyssey will drive 500,000 miles on that engine with oil changes.
Yep.
It'll need a spark plug change every 100,000 miles because it's got platinum tick spark plugs. It uses synthetic oil, so it needs an oil change about once a year.
Yeah, about that.
And that's it. You basically can ignore that engine for a long time. But that engine does not produce 270 or 280 horsepower whenever you're driving. It's producing 50. The only time the engine produces all that power is when your foot is on the floor, the engines are at max rev, the gears are at max rev, and it's throwing everything it's got. How long do you think that engine would last if you actually used it at 100% continuously?
Blah, blah, I don't even think 5 years.
Do you remember the 180 horsepower engines on the 172s?
Yeah.
Do you know why they only last a little while?
Because
they're always running at full power. That's the difference. That's why car engines don't work. And that's why when you put a car engine in one of those light airplanes, they don't last the way a car engine does because you're running them at full bore constantly.
Yeah.
Car engines actually may only be using a few dozen horsepower when you're driving around. You have momentary bouts of acceleration,
Yep.
but then you're driving normal. If you drove your engine in such a way that you were always floored, but then you held the brake to stop, but the engine kept revving,
Oh, yeah.
how long would your car last?
Not very long at all.
So how long do you think a power supply running at 100% capacity
A couple of years, maybe?
compared to one running at 50% capacity?
Oh, yeah, that would be
At
better.
50%, it'll last you until the heat death of the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but... I am not a fan of using components to their maximum capability. You can occasionally, but if you're pulling 860 watts... Now, 860 watts from the wall is not 860 watts internally.
No.
You're not overrunning the power supply. You, sir, are actually a candidate not only for a 1,000-watt power supply,
Probably
But one of those EVGA has the new 1300 watt units. If you bought one, it would last you
much longer
through 3 whole computer upgrades and anything you want to put in there. And it's more efficient because when you run power supplies near their max capacity, their efficiency actually drops. You're wasting electricity. End of speech.
End of speech.